Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Deep-3 here on Saturday, February 29th with winnersandwhiners.com. Before we get into today's plays of the day, just quick announcement as to why I'm doing the video once again. Scott Steen is still currently dealing with his father's passing. He did the video yesterday, but he said that he was going to be unable to do the video today, as him and his family had to plan some stuff. So, for that reason, I will be taking over once again, but Scott Steen will be resuming the normal scheduling starting tomorrow. So, without further ado, we're going to dive right in with the Deep-3, and all three games are going to be on college basketball, as there is naturally a ton of games to choose from on Saturday. And the first game we're going to be talking about, these plays are in no particular order, but the first play will be on Oklahoma State -7, and that one is available on DraftKings at -110. So there's a couple of reasons why we like them against Iowa State in this spot. First of all, Iowa State has been absolutely terrible on the road this season. They have not won a road game all year. They are 0-9 straight up on the road, and they are 2-7 against the spread. So Iowa State cannot be trusted away from home. I expect them to continue struggling. They've gotten blown out pretty much any time they've gone on the road lately, and I expect that trend to continue. Oklahoma State, even though they are only 8-6 at home this season overall, they have actually been playing some solid basketball at home lately, and they were able to blow out Oklahoma, for example, last week by double digits at home. I had that personally on one of the stats all plays, but overall, Iowa State, if you've seen them play lately, especially with Halliburton out of the lineup, this team is a shell of its former self, and there's a reason why this team has plummeted under 500. Other than that, though, Oklahoma State has won each of its last 3 home games by an average of 11 points. So Oklahoma State, as I mentioned before, not just the game against Oklahoma, but each of their last 3 home games were decided by an average of 11 points. The one that was in the middle was a 3-point victory over a ranked Texas Tech team. So that one was against a difficult opponent, but the other 2 they won by double digits, and I expect to see a similar result in this one. Meanwhile, Iowa State has actually lost both road games ever since their best player, Halliburton, got injured by at least 20 points. So that is worth mentioning because of the fact that with Halliburton out of the lineup, Iowa State has looked even more lost on the road than it has all season long. Iowa State did manage to win the first meeting between these teams this season. However, that was in Iowa State, and Iowa State's looked a lot better at home than they have on the road. And Halliburton also had 20 points in that game, and he is now out of the lineup. So I expect to see Iowa State look significantly worse offensively and probably even defensively away from home, and I think that there is some value on Oklahoma State as a result. This line is currently available at 7.5 for the most part market-wide, but DraftKings still has -7, and I expect this line to climb up moving forward. So, other than that, though, looking at the team comparisons, Oklahoma State is giving up 6 fewer points per game, so defensively I think they should be able to get enough stops. Plus, Oklahoma State's also averaging roughly 2 more rebounds per game, and I expect them to dominate the boards as they should be able to generate enough second chance points in order to cover the spread. So for that reason, the first play is going to be an Oklahoma State -7, and that line is available on DraftKings at -110. Now looking at the second play, it's actually going to be similar to a play that I gave out on the last Deep-3 that I did. It's going to be on Gonzaga, -13, which is available on DraftKings at -110, as they take on St. Mary's in the night game at roughly 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And in this game, we like Gonzaga for a couple of reasons. First of all, Gonzaga has been absolutely ridiculous at home this season, as they are currently 16-0 at home, and I expect them to put together a nice performance in this game as well. Gonzaga should also be very motivated to put in a good performance in this game. Even though they've already clinched the 1 spot in the West Coast Conference, they're still fighting for a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, and they will need to pretty much win out in order to secure that 1 seed automatically. So expects them to come out very focused for this game. It's also worth mentioning that Gonzaga won the first meeting between these 2 teams this season by 30 points on the road. So now they're laying 13 at home. I know that this looks like a bit of a trap line here, but I kind of have to take the bait here. If you win by 30 in a hostile environment at St. Mary's, and now you're only laying 13 at home, I don't see how you don't win that game by at least 20. I think St. Mary's, even though they have been playing well lately, they have won each of their last 4 games. 3 of those games came at home, and the 4th game came against Santa Clara. Santa Clara is pretty good, but they're not Gonzaga good, and I think you should see Gonzaga put together a nice performance. Plus, the favorite trend-wise is 7-3 against the spread in the last 10 meetings between these 2 teams. so I expect to see Gonzaga roll pretty easily once again. Main reason why Gonzaga rolled the first time was because of the fact that they shot over 65% from the floor, and because they also had 10 more rebounds in the game. I expect the second part to continue, as Gonzaga is averaging roughly 8 more rebounds per game in comparison to St. Mary's. I expect them to dominate the glass. If you compare St. Mary's size-wise to Gonzaga, it's a massive mismatch, and I think you should see Gonzaga get a ton of second-chance points, which should lead to an easy cover. Plus, Gonzaga is also shooting roughly 51% from the floor, so the team has been really good at making shots, and I think you should see that trend continue, as Gonzaga is averaging 87.8 points per game. I just don't think St. Mary's is going to be able to score enough. I think St. Mary's should be able to score 70, potentially in the high 60s, but I think Gonzaga has a serious chance of breaking mid-80s, I'd say potentially 90s. So for that reason, we're going to take Gonzaga minus 13, and that line is available on DraftKings at minus 110. Now, the third play is actually going to be on a total in college basketball between VMI and Sanford, and that line's currently available at over 153 at minus 110 on FanDuel. Now, a couple of reasons why we like this play. First of all, pretty much everything involves Sanford's defense, which has been absolutely miserable lately. If you've looked at Sanford over the last, say about 3 weeks, Sanford's given up at least 74 points to its respective opponents in 8 of its last 9 games. And to make matters worse, Sanford has given up at least 106 points in 2 of its last 3 games. This team can't stop a nosebleed, and I think you should see VMI potentially break 80 in this game, as Sanford has been unable to stop anybody over the last couple of weeks. I mean, 74 points in 8 of their last 9 is not great, but 106 minimum in 2 of their last 3 games is unacceptable, and I think this total is way too low as a result. The first meeting between these two teams also generated exactly 153 points, so I think that this line could be pretty spot on, but I also expect this game to be pretty close, which should lead to some extra points due to free throws. VMI is currently favored by 1.5, and assuming that Vegas is going to be relatively close with its spread projection, you should see a decent amount of free throws at the end of the game, which could easily lead to some free points. If this is within single digits with about a minute and a half to go, you could be in line for some free throws for the last 60 seconds or so, just non-stop free throw, layup, free throw. Could lead to a ton of free points, so I think that shouldn't be an issue, as I think this game will go over before that opportunity presents itself. But as a potential fail-safe, there is the shot of some free throws late in games and some scramble points, which should definitely help. Other than that, though, Sanford also ranks 29th in adjusted offensive tempo, according to Ken Pom rankings, which means that they play one of the fastest paces in the country, and I think VMI will be more than happy to share that fast-paced style, especially considering the fact that they should have a lot of opportunities in transition. So I think that based on the fact that both teams should have more possessions due to the faster tempo, and the fact that Sanford's defense is terrible, along with the fact that the spread is close at 1.5, so you should see some free throws at the end of the game, all those for me are a perfect recipe for the over. So for that reason, the play is going to be on VMI and Sanford over 153, and that one is available on FanDuel at minus 110. So the 3 plays for the Deep 3 once again are going to be an Oklahoma State minus 7, and that one is available on DraftKings at minus 110. Gonzaga minus 13, which is available on DraftKings at minus 110. And the VMI Sanford over 153, which is available at minus 110 on FanDuel. And those are the 3 plays for the Deep 3. Other than that, though, that's going over the installment of the Deep 3 here with winnersandwiners.com on Saturday, February 29th. Good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.